What's going on, Jeff? Remember me, the fired Amazon worker that you signed off on the smear campaign? Now you're going to have the Met Gala where you're going to be surrounded by all these elites and billionaires and A-listers when you have poverty right outside on the streets.
It's been such a fun and meaningful experience. And when Anna called me and said, do you want to co-chair and also be the sponsors of the Met, I was so...
The criticism aimed at Jeff Bezos goes far beyond one celebrity event. For some people, the Met Gala has become a symbol of extreme wealth existing side by side with economic struggle. Critics argue that while billionaires celebrate luxury among celebrities and cultural elites, ordinary workers continue facing financial hardship and insecurity. One activist directly confronted Bezos over Amazon's treatment of employees, accusing him of approving campaigns that damaged workers' reputations after they were fired. At the same time,
Bible told you to walk out to look out for billionaires, didn't they?
Yep. Sure did.
Didn't they say it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to see the kingdom of heaven? Do you know why? Because biblically they know what the horrible things
Bezos and Lauren Sanchez publicly described their involvement with the Met Gala as an honor and a meaningful experience, highlighting the sharp contrast between elite celebrations and the frustrations many workers feel. The debate also took on a moral and religious angle. Some critics referenced biblical teachings about wealth, especially the famous passage about it being easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. Their argument was that enormous fortunes are often built through systems that prioritize profit over people. Questions about representation in Hollywood added another layer to the discussion.
People would rather go to space and pay people fair rate. They would rather have a $50 million wedding than to make sure that they're employed, than to make sure that people can read. They would rather sue the IRS for $10 billion to make sure people have free lunches.
Yeah.
Evil is as evil does. So what is about those people? When those people align themselves with you, it is transactional.
Commentators pointed out that legendary black actors such as Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson have rarely been associated with events like the Met Gala. While few celebrities openly criticize these institutions, comedian D.L. Hughley spoke more directly about the relationship between billionaires, power, and public figures. Hughley argued that many wealthy elites spend staggering amounts on luxury experiences while resisting investments that could improve workers' lives, education, or social welfare. In his view, public alliances between entertainers and billionaires are often transactional, built around influence, status, and access rather than shared values.
And the theme of fashion and art and how those two things got separated in the first place could be fascinating. But I am deeply troubled by the fact that their website says that they are literally going to be focusing primarily on Western art. It looks like we're going really heavy on the Greek and Roman themes, specifically the version of those themes that's highly fetishized.
Criticism intensified when Bezos and Sanchez were named honorary chairs of the Met Gala during a time when protesters in New York were calling attention to labor inequality. Demonstrators emphasized that culture is created not only by wealthy patrons, but also by designers, garment workers, delivery employees, caregivers, and countless laborers whose work keeps society functioning. Some observers also analyzed the event's artistic themes more critically. The museum's description referenced a focus on Western artistic traditions, which critics connected to the fascination many tech billionaires have with Roman and Greek imperial imagery. Elon Musk's past references to Mars and imperial symbolism were cited as examples of how modern billionaires sometimes embrace grand historical aesthetics tied to power, conquest, and legacy. Taken together, these arguments reflect a broader cultural debate.
By white supremacists and billionaires. As predicted, under the Trump administration, museums are making more and more conservative choices and showing things that really are uncritical celebrations of whiteness. Not Europeanness, mind you. Whiteness at the expense of everything.
Whether elite institutions like the Met Gala celebrate creativity and art, or whether they increasingly represent a disconnect between extraordinary wealth and the realities faced by everyday people. The conversation around the Met Gala has expanded beyond fashion and celebrity culture into larger debates about race, power, and who gets to shape public culture. Critics argue that the event's emphasis on Western art raises concerns about which histories and identities are being celebrated and which are being pushed aside. For some observers, the issue is not European influence itself, but what they see as an increasingly narrow focus on ideals tied to whiteness and elite power. They point to recurring imagery inspired by ancient Greece and Rome, aesthetics that have long been admired by wealthy elites and, in some cases, appropriated by extremist groups as symbols of status, dominance, and hierarchy. Others believe this reflects a broader cultural shift happening in major institutions. According to these critics, museums and high-profile cultural spaces have become more cautious and conservative in their choices, often favoring familiar narratives that celebrate traditional Western identity while giving less attention to diverse perspectives or more critical conversations about history. That criticism naturally leads to another question: who actually controls an event like the Met Gala? Behind the scenes, much of the influence has long been associated with Anna Wintour, the longtime Vogue editor whose image, sharp bob haircut and signature dark sunglasses, has become inseparable from the event itself. Over the years, she has developed a reputation as one of the most powerful gatekeepers in fashion and celebrity culture. Some commentators, including writers from conservative publications, have criticized the structure of the gala itself. They argue that the event places celebrities, particularly Black entertainers, into carefully managed roles where appearance, styling, and presentation are heavily controlled by elite fashion institutions. In this interpretation, stars arrive wearing curated looks, participate in a spectacle designed by others, and contribute to an event that generates enormous prestige and money for institutions rather than directly benefiting the communities whose culture often inspires the evening's themes. Critics also point out the imbalance in representation behind the scenes. While Black celebrities may become the visual centerpiece of the red carpet, many argue that Black designers, Black-owned fashion houses, and Black communities do not receive the same level of long-term investment or economic return from the event's success. This debate becomes even more sensitive when themes connected to Black identity are involved. One year, the gala centered its theme around Black dandyism and tailored Black fashion traditions. On the surface, many saw it as a celebration of elegance, creativity, and cultural influence. But some critics argued that presenting Black style in a luxury fashion context without fully addressing the historical realities behind it risked reducing a deeply layered cultural expression into another high-fashion trend. For these observers, Black dandyism is not simply about stylish suits or polished presentation. It emerged historically as a form of self-expression, resistance, dignity, and survival within societies that often denied Black people power and humanity. Without acknowledging that deeper history, critics argue, the theme can feel less like meaningful recognition and more like cultural repackaging for elite audiences. Ultimately, the larger controversy surrounding the Met Gala reflects a tension that extends far beyond fashion itself. Who controls culture, who profits from it, and whether institutions celebrating diversity are truly sharing power, or simply reshaping marginalized identities into luxury entertainment for the wealthy. Black dandyism was never just about fashion. During the Harlem Renaissance, sharply tailored suits and polished presentation became symbols of resistance for Black men living in a society that denied them equal rights and basic dignity. Dressing elegantly was a statement of humanity, pride, and self-respect in an era when Black Americans were routinely dehumanized and excluded from political power. Critics argue that the Met Gala transformed that deeply rooted cultural expression into something far removed from its original meaning. What began as a form of social and political defiance is now, in their view, repackaged as luxury entertainment for wealthy audiences. Black celebrities are often asked to embody these aesthetics on a global stage, while elite guests consume the imagery as high culture without necessarily engaging with the painful history behind it. The conversation became even more complicated when many Black women at the event were styled in heavily masculine-inspired looks under the banner of dandyism. Supporters viewed it as artistic experimentation and rebellion against gender norms, since dandyism has historically been tied to individuality and challenging social expectations. But others argued that Black women have rarely been fully included in the historical narrative of dandyism in the first place, making the styling choices feel disconnected from the movement's original context. Critics also pointed to controversial fashion moments that sparked public backlash. One example involved provocative red carpet styling choices from celebrities, while another centered on outrage over imagery associated with Rosa Parks appearing in a highly questionable fashion context. For many observers, these incidents raised larger questions about who approves these creative decisions, how far celebrities feel pressure to go for attention or acceptance, and whether powerful institutions within fashion culture influence those choices behind the scenes. At the center of much of this discussion is the enormous influence held by figures like Anna Wintour, who has shaped fashion media and celebrity culture for decades. Critics argue that in industries where access, reputation, and visibility are tightly controlled, public figures may feel pressure to participate in spectacles they privately dislike in order to protect careers, maintain relationships, or remain part of influential circles. The debate also touches on how Black men are perceived within entertainment spaces. Some commentators believe black male celebrities are expected to appear polished, agreeable, and non-confrontational at elite events. When they express discomfort or challenge the system openly, they risk being labeled difficult or angry, labels that can damage careers in Hollywood and fashion circles alike. Because of this, people have noticed that several highly respected black actors, including Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Morgan Freeman, Forrest Whitaker, and Terrence Howard, have largely remained absent from the Met Gala spotlight. Critics interpret this absence as meaningful, suggesting that some successful black entertainers may simply choose not to participate in environments they see as performative or culturally exploitative. At the same time, few celebrities publicly explain such decisions, likely because openly criticizing influential institutions can carry professional consequences. The broader criticism aimed at figures like Jeff Bezos ties into this same tension. Detractors see a contradiction between celebrating black culture at luxury charity galas while labor disputes, union controversies, and accusations of worker mistreatment continue to surround major corporations connected to the event's elite sponsors. To these critics, the issue is not only about fashion, it is about power, image management, and who ultimately benefits when culture becomes part of an exclusive spectacle designed for the ultra-wealthy. According to D.L. Hughley and others who share his perspective, the issue is not simply that billionaires attend events like the Met Gala, it's that they often embrace the image and influence of black culture without meaningfully investing in the communities that created it. In this view, black celebrities become symbols used to give elite spaces a sense of authenticity, relevance, and cultural credibility, while the real power and financial benefits remain concentrated among wealthy institutions and sponsors. Critics argue that the cycle repeats itself year after year. High-profile figures walk the red carpet, social media celebrates the spectacle, and the event is praised as culturally progressive. Yet, according to skeptics, little changes behind the scenes. The same wealthy donors maintain control, the same celebrities help generate attention, and the same inequalities remain untouched. D.L. Hughley expressed these frustrations in blunt terms, connecting billionaire influence to larger societal problems. He argued that extreme wealth often shields powerful people from accountability and contributes to systems where social services, education, and public welfare receive less support while elite interests continue to thrive. For him, the conversation extends far beyond fashion or celebrity culture. It becomes a critique of economic and political power itself. From that perspective, the Met Gala is seen less as a harmless entertainment event and more as a public display of hierarchy and influence. Critics claim that billionaires gain prestige by associating themselves with black artistry and culture, while the institutions hosting these events rarely redistribute significant resources back into the communities being celebrated. This is also why some observers focus less on who attends the gala and more on who consistently stays away. The absence of certain respected black actors and entertainers has fueled speculation that some may prefer not to participate in spaces they view as overly performative or disconnected from the realities facing ordinary people. Because openly criticizing influential cultural institutions can create professional risks, many public figures may simply choose silence rather than direct confrontation. At the center of the debate is a larger question about representation versus ownership. Is celebrating black culture enough if the economic power, decision-making, and long-term benefits remain concentrated among elite gatekeepers? Critics like Hughley argue that visibility alone does not equal progress if the underlying structures of influence never truly change. Ultimately, the discussion surrounding the Met Gala reflects broader tensions about celebrity culture, wealth inequality, labor, race, and who gets to define cultural value. Supporters view the event as a celebration of fashion and artistic expression, while critics see it as an example of how powerful institutions can showcase marginalized cultures without fully sharing power with the people behind them.